The story begins by showing a girl driving on a road near a cliff, where a sudden landslide occurs which makes her car swerve and causes her car to fall into a ravine. Luckily, the girl is still safe after her car gets stuck in the rocks. She quickly calls 911 for help so that they can immediately come to help her. And this is our hero, a member of the rescue team named Ray, who comes using a helicopter. Ray and the team immediately carry out the rescue after seeing the position of the girl's car. To save her, the helicopter must fly close to the rocks because the position of the girl's car is difficult to reach. So, this is where the tense moment occurs, when Ray must quickly get the girl out before her car falls into the ravine.
I got you.
After Ray and the team succeed in their mission, the story shifts to a city in California called San Andreas, and a seismologist named Dr. Lawrence is introduced who is explaining about the great earthquakes that have occurred throughout the world, including the impacts caused such as large tsunamis. Dr. Lawrence has a theory that the city of San Andreas has a high potential for a major earthquake due to the tectonic plates that are very prone to shifting. The problem is not how big the impact will be, but when it will happen.
Miles away.
Dr. Lawrence discusses with Kim, his colleague who is also a seismologist. Kim has just detected vibrations around the big dam, so the two of them immediately head there to investigate. Upon arrival, Kim chose to enter the dam to obtain accurate data. Their goal was not merely for hobby or work, but to predict possible earthquakes so that local residents had time to evacuate. Not long after, the tremors became stronger and stronger. Dr. Lawrence, who was above, immediately told Kim to get out as soon as possible, but something surprising happened. There was a major earthquake that caused cracks in the dam. When everyone scattered and left the dam, Kim was the last person left in the middle. Just as he was almost at the edge of the dam, there was a little girl who was still scared, so Kim had no choice but to save her first. The girl managed to survive, while Kim was trapped after her leg was pierced by an iron rod, so Dr. Lawrence could do nothing but watch his best friend being dragged along with the broken dam. Meanwhile, Ray was visiting his daughter, Blake, at the house of his ex-wife named Emma and her new husband named Daniel. The intention was to invite them to dinner so that he could be with Blake, his beloved daughter. Ray instead had to experience disappointment when Daniel invited his daughter and ex-wife to go, and there were plans about their moving to another city, making it even more difficult for Ray to meet his beloved daughter.
I'll get her bike.
After that, Emma met her best friend at a restaurant in one of the buildings, while Blake herself was invited by Daniel, her stepfather, to visit his new building which was still under construction. There, Blake met a young man named Ben, who was applying for a job at his stepfather's company. There was also Ollie, Ben's younger brother, who was invited to accompany him to apply for a job. Right at the same time, Dr. Lawrence was about to do an interview for a television station about the earthquake that killed Kim, his best friend. One of the employees who suddenly came gave the latest information about the condition of the tectonic plates in the city of San Andreas. After further investigation, a surprising fact emerged that the entire plains of the city of San Andreas, which were close to the ocean, would experience a massive earthquake that had the potential to cause a large tsunami. Back to Blake, who was invited home by Daniel, her stepfather. When they were in the car and about to leave the parking lot, suddenly an earthquake occurred. Dr. Lawrence was too late to warn everyone because the earthquake that was feared had already occurred. Blake's leg was trapped in the front seat, so Daniel decided to go out to find a way to free it. However, when the earthquake struck again, Daniel chose to leave Blake alone there on the pretext of going to get help.
Be right back.
Daniel, don't! Please don't leave me alone! Daniel!
Arriving at the top instead of looking for help, Daniel was shocked when he witnessed his employee being killed by a landslide. So instead of returning to Blake, he chose to go out for his own safety. Fortunately, Ben, who was still there, realized that Daniel had come out of the parking lot alone. So his instinct to help immediately arose to go to the parking lot and try to find Blake, who needed help. At the same time, Emma, who happened to be on the phone with Ray, began to feel an earthquake when she saw the table shaking and a big earthquake occurred. Emma, who was on the top floor, was in trouble when she couldn't go anywhere. Even when she went to catch up with her best friend, Emma found that the room she opened was empty and collapsed to the surface. Emma decided to go up to the top of the building, hoping that her condition would be better. But this is what she witnessed. It was truly extraordinary when Emma became the only person who managed to survive in the building. where Ray, who had arrived there, immediately carried out the rescue just as a building collapsed towards them. Not enough to stop there. Ray still had to struggle to avoid other buildings, so this is what happened. After successfully surviving, they both got a call from Blake asking for help. They immediately went there to help him. Switching to Blake's place shortly after he contacted his parents, Ben and Ollie appeared to help. Ben's sacrifice was not merely because of his humanitarian spirit, but because he had a crush on Blake since first sight, as well as to get a chance to be accepted to work at Daniel's company, Blake's stepfather. After the three of them managed to get out of the building, many people were running looking for a safe place. Blake and his friends chose to enter an electronics store to look for a satellite phone so they could contact Ray and Emma again to determine the pickup point. While Emma and Ben were busy, Ollie found a laser flashlight and played with it.
So how's your dad going to pick up?
He's on his way in a helicopter.
Daniel himself was seen with people who were walking leisurely away from the city. Thought it was safe. Daniel had to experience a terrifying moment when a large building collapsed, causing a powerful gust, where he again showed his selfishness when he took someone else's shelter. So that person was blown away, switching to Ray and Emma, who had almost arrived at their daughter's location. However, problems arise when the helicopter engine breaks down, forcing Ray to make an emergency landing. Landing safely on the surface, Ray looks for a vehicle for him and Emma to continue their journey. However, a man suddenly comes with the intention of seizing the car, but it was a big mistake because he had messed with someone like Ray, so Ray easily beat him up. After they traveled overland, Ray and Emma were forced to stop their journey again after discovering something surprising: that land access to Blake's location had to be cut off by a split in the ground surface caused by a shift in tectonic plates. Not far from there, Ray and Emma met a grandfather and grandmother who had a small plane. They kindly lent their plane to Ray and Emma so they could save their daughter. Arriving in the city center, they saw that all the buildings had been destroyed so that it was unlikely to find a landing site. Ray decided to jump with Emma using the parachute there. Just as Ray and Emma managed to land in the middle of the stadium, Blake and his friends had almost arrived at the evacuation site, which was located in the lowlands. Meanwhile, Ray told Blake to go to the highlands so that it would be easier to see and safe from the threat of a tsunami. In other words, they had to turn back to the city with all kinds of threats that could happen. Shortly after Blake arrived in the city, an aftershock occurred which caused the building to collapse again. This was also felt by Ray and Emma, who were in another place. However, armed with his knowledge as a member of the rescue team, Ray quickly told Imam and several people to take shelter at the edge of the stadium to avoid falling objects.
Off the street! Get to the stadium!
Due to the earthquake just now, Ben's one leg was injured, making him limp. However, even so, the three of them continued their journey in order to be saved by Blake's parents. After realizing that the land was not safe for travel, Ray and Emma chose the water route to use a boat, which was exactly at the same time. The thing they feared happened when a massive tsunami as high as 82 meters occurred. Instead of turning around to avoid it, Ray actually accelerated his boat so that he could pass the waves before it broke by the Golden Gate Bridge. Daniel, who happened to be in the middle of the bridge, was killed by a container, where the tsunami devoured the Golden Gate Bridge, including hitting the city where Blake and his friends were taking shelter in the building. Blake and his friends managed to survive, while Ray and Emma were able to more freely search for Blake's whereabouts with the seawater that now filled the city's land. Right when they were very close to Blake's location, they did not realize his presence because of the screams that were blocked by the thick glass. This is where Ollie shows his important role by using a laser flashlight that he took from an electronics store, so that he managed to get the attention of Ray and Emma, who turned their bodies towards them. Instead of immediately turning around to pick up Blake, Emma screamed with joy and hugged her ex-husband, which resulted in the little time that could have been used to pick up Blake was wasted when the building began to collapse and sink into the ocean. Ollie managed to survive and meet his brother Ben, while Blake was accidentally swept away by the current that trapped him on the lower floor, with no way out at all. Meanwhile, Ray immediately brought his boat closer to the building. Just as he was about to jump into the water, Emma called Ray again to approach her first. Emma instead invited Ray to look at each other first while saying, "Ray, let's save our daughter." Ray, who already knew that, immediately jumped. Upon arriving in the water, Ray managed to find Blake trapped behind thick glass with the only way out blocked by debris. No matter how much they removed the items, neither of them were strong enough to get rid of them. Ben himself did not want to help. He was about to go down to save Blake, but his path was blocked by the building that was starting to sink. So Ray was the only hope that could be relied on. When the water had filled the entire room, Blake no longer had the chance to take a breath, so he had to willingly drown right in front of his father. However, seeing his daughter dying, the soul of a father within Ray emerged until he was more enthusiastic and finally managed to remove the objects that were blocking his way in. Ray managed to bring his daughter to the floor where Ben and Ollie were. Emma, who saw this, immediately took a stance to crash into the window. Surviving the sinking building, now Ray and the others must face a new problem when they find that Blake is no longer breathing. However, with the power of parental love, Emma finally managed to make Blake breathe again and be able to gather with his family. At the end of the film, they are seen looking at the center of San Andreas, with a sense of happiness that they were finally safe and reunited. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Amri Film channel so you don't miss the next movie recaps.